Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good evening, or good morning. It's good morning. Anyway, so hi, how are y'all out there in the world doing? So this is Dr. V. I ask that you like, subscribe, share, comment on this podcast. So we want to get it out. We want to spread the news to the world that nurses are amazing and that we do more than just work at the bedside, okay? And so we've got our amazing guest here today, Mr. Demetrius Kirk. So Demetrius, tell us a little bit about who you are.
First off, thank you, Dr. V, for having this platform and allowing me on your platform. So I really appreciate it. But I am a young man, a young guy from Detroit, Michigan. I'm a registered nurse, a licensed nursing home administrator, and most importantly, a girl dad, as I love to tell people. I am passionate about the healthcare community and all things nursing. And I'm just a down-to-earth guy who really cares about moving the healthcare organization and healthcare world forward.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about what, why did you, because, traditionally here don't become nurses. So how did you get here?
Listen, so I got here on a $20 bet. If you want to be truthful, and I wouldn't have bet. It wasn't even about the $20. I won so much more in life. I started off as a CNA when I was 18. Somebody bet me that I couldn't be a CNA, and I said, "Look, you got $20 on the line. I'm gonna go take the course." So I showed up for the course. That person didn't even show up. Never made the $20, by the way. They didn't show up. And it was at that time at 18, right? I was young and I was impressionable, and I fell in love with the field of nursing. What I thought it was at the time, I think when I was 18, fresh face, bushy tail is different than what it actually is. But I fell in love as a CNA, became an LPN, and then just continued to work my way up.
I love that. So how long were you an LPN?
So I was a CNA for 5 years, LPN for 5 years, I believe, give or take. So right around that time.
I love it. So there's something that happened interestingly to you when you were in the 7th grade. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of my favorite stories, right? So it was the 8th grade, and I had a teacher. These are math teachers. They're impressionable. You're there to look up for them. You're there to look up to them. And I had an 8th grade teacher tell me, "Hey, Demetrius, you keep talking in my class. You don't know how to shut up, and you ain't doing what I'm telling you to do." I'm pretty sure she used the word "shut up," by the way. I'm pretty sure. So I need you to write 100 times that you will not talk in my class. And being, me, innovator or a person trying to just not write 100 times, I taped together 4 pencils. And I wrote 25 times I would not talk in her class. Well, that 8th grade teacher looked down at me and said, "You know what? By the time you're 18, you will be dead or in somebody's penitentiary." And that haunts me to this day. I mean, it is something that weighs heavily on me because I look up to teachers, right? We all look up to teachers. I'm in 8th grade. I'm just smelling myself, just getting into puberty. And you have somebody that says, "Hey, you're not going to be alive in a couple of years if you're going the way that you're going." Instead of saying, "Hey, Demetrius, you know what? You're being innovative." That's how engineers think. How do we turn that and help you, craft and mold that?
I love this story because, it really, there's a couple of reasons, because there was this one story about this a rancher, so he was nomadic. Like him and his father were extremely poor, and so what happened was he ended up um, putting together this paper. The teacher said, write a paper on, what your future would look like. And so he, fully described what his future would like. It would be a 40-acre ranch with all these horses and things of that nature. And so he turned the paper in, and then he got it back with a red F on the front. And he was a teacher saying, see me after class. So he saw the teacher after class. The teacher said, he was like, why did I get an F? And she said, well, because this is not realistic for you. Like, you are poor. And so what he did was he went home and he talked with his father. He was like, look, this is what I got from this particular teacher. How do I handle this? And he said, well, son, it's your choice. He said, you have to decide what you want to do with that. And so he said, he took the paper back to him. He said, you keep your F and I'll keep my dream. And so, a couple of years, when he was telling this story a couple of years ago, that same teacher came to his ranch with kids, and she said that she was a dream sealer at that time. And and I had a guy that was in my class during the time that we were just coming up, and like he was hilarious, right? And see, the thing that reminds me of you and him is that both of you are very charismatic, right? Very funny, very energetic, right?
Yes.
And the same way. And so that energy is what, high energy, low excuses, right? Yes. And both of you have made amazing strides in the world. So that makes the difference. I'm glad you had that foresight to do that. So tell me a little bit about you and this 10-day vacation.
Listen. So this 10-day vacation almost didn't happen. My wife was going to school to get an education degree. And I remember at some point at the beginning of it, I said, look, when you graduate, I'm going to take you to Hawaii. Well, she didn't forget that, but I forgot it. So 3 months before she was going to graduate, she said, hey, so where are my Hawaiian tickets at? Where are my tickets to Hawaii? And I said, well, what are you talking about? She said, so-and-so time you told me, and I'm graduating, and I expect to walk across that stage onto my jet and be jet setting to Hawaii. So, I did what any good husband would do. I immediately went downstairs and started looking online for prices and realized real quick I couldn't afford them. But I remembered, what nurses do when they need to go on a vacation. What do? They start counting up how many shifts they got to get to the money. So at that point, I said, okay, I need this many shifts. I'm going to go into the job. I'm going to sign up for overtime. And I made it happen. And we flew to Honolulu, Hawaii, and we stayed here for 10 days, right? It was 3-day plan, stay here for 10 days, best hotel, best everything. And it was here while I was here for these 10 days that I was like, I love this place. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Look at this water. Breathe this air, taste this air. And I was like, I want to move here. So from 10 days, we put a 5-year plan in place to move to Honolulu, Hawaii. And that's just what we did off of a 10-day vacation. We set a goal, we achieved that goal. And then 5 years later, we moved here to Honolulu, Hawaii.
I love it. I love it. My husband loves Hawaii too. We went to, because one of the first vacations we went to was in Honolulu, and then the second one was on the Big Island.
Yes.
Which is kind of crazy. Like the way that the island is structured, yes. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so hopefully my husband won't, because I have grandchildren over here. We don't have small children like you do, right?
Yes.
With us. So I love it. So now tell me about the transition, because you are a C-suite executive.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what made you go into the C-suite. Like, what was that transition like? What did that look like? And what made you want to not be in the C-suite?
I like many other people, you're taught to climb the ranks, climb the ladder, get to the top. That's what you want to be, especially me, as you've talked about, you can already pick up my drive, my hunger, my thirst for more. And there was a period in time when I was chasing titles, and I would do anything to get to those titles. So once I got to the C-suite level, I realized that I wasn't a different person. I'm the same old me. I just got more of a headache. I mean, it might be a little income that comes with it, but I just got more of a headache. I'm blamed for more stuff. The higher I get up, I'm blamed for more stuff that I may not have full control over. I may be sitting in the C-suite and answering to the board of directors now, but it's really that frontline staff and that line staff down there that really needs to carry out the vision that we have. So I got there, I enjoyed it, but I realized that I wasn't my happiest. In fact, I was starting to lose myself, especially in the essence of I had a young impressionable daughter, right? I still do, right? She's 6 now, but she was young, and I wanted to be a Black father that was going to be there. So I had to make some decisions. Am I going to sit here in the C-suite and take time away from my family, or am I going to be there for my daughter and watch her grow and watch her excel and blossom as she grow, right? Because she's young, she's impressionable. The first love, she has to be her dad. I couldn't let it be anybody else. So I had to make some decisions, and I made that decision that I'm gonna give it to my family. I'm gonna get that time to my family.
I love it. I love the way that when you decide that your family is, of course, I think I'm a Jesus girl, so I think that God is first,
Yes.
and my family second. It's just
Yes.
it is no brainer. And once I understood that, it was a game changer. And I said, we're not going to keep doing this same thing because we are not getting different results. And I mean, that's the definition of insanity, right? And so I was like, we have got to move this needle forward. So tell me a little bit about your move once you moved. So when did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
So it came out of necessity. I've always had some entrepreneurial blood in my body, right? I remember middle school, I would go to Dollar Tree. I don't even think it's $1 no more. We don't have none in Hawaii, so I don't know what it is now. But I would go to Dollar Tree and buy these little laser pointers for $1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would take them into school and sell them for $15 and told them I'm giving to them at cost. And then so since you have a 20, you might as well give me the 5 just to help me out.
That's hilarious.
Back in the day, right? So that was my intro into entrepreneurship. Growing up, I seen it. My dad, I've never seen my dad punch a clock. My dad has always owned real estate. He has always worked for himself. So I've seen entrepreneurial. I've seen what it can look like. So for me, when I got to Hawaii, it was a challenge for me to find gainful employment that was matching the credentials that I had behind my name. And from there, I said, okay, how do I leverage the credentials that I have after my name to ensure that I have gainful employment and can stay here in Hawaii for the amount of time that I want to stay here? So they kind of led me down a path to truly getting into entrepreneurship because I needed to pay my bills. I needed to be able to afford to be here for my daughter, as I talked about earlier, right? I can get a job at an executive level, but then I'm not there for my daughter. I'm not here enjoying the land that I moved here for. So I had to think outside the box, and that's what led me to entrepreneurship.
I love it. And so when you decided that you wanted to go into entrepreneurship, tell me some of the challenges that you had at the beginning.
The same challenges I got today. Let's call it spade. Let's call it spade a spade. Not everybody's happy for your newfound journey, your newfound way of thinking. Okay.
Come on, tell that story.
So you want to do it, but even down to family, right? Why are you doing this? Why are you stepping away? I've worked to get the initials behind my name. You did all this. And I'm a strategist, so I have to think what's going to be best for my family, not for today. I'm always thinking 5 years from now. Where do I see myself 5 years from now? I can make it to tomorrow. I can make it to next week. We can always do that. But 5 years from now, how do we sustain and make it here in Hawaii? So when you talk about some of the struggles, once again, it's getting over the barriers that are Self-imposed, the mental barriers, the imposter syndrome, that's huge. Getting over imposter. Do I deserve this? Can I do this? And I would always tell people, if I can do it for the man, why can't I do it for myself? If I
Well,
can get up every single day to go to work and punch a clock, why can't I punch a clock for myself?
that bust that theory. So I was at a women's conference when, as a matter of fact, the women's conference is going on today, and I missed it. But I was at the same women's conference about a couple of years ago, and it was a bunch of people up there, and all of them were C-suite employees, right? And so they work for various industries. So it was one was my chief nursing officer; she was there, and then it was a bunch of other men that were there. And one of the things that they said was that women will come in with 14 of the requirements for the job. Okay, 10 plus 4, and they will not apply for the job typically. And then men will come in with 3 of the requirements, some part, and then they will apply for the job, right? And so it really opened my eyes up to that. But that kind of busts that theory when you said that you have imposter syndrome, because basically that's kind of the same thing, right? It's in that same line, it's in that same realm. And so imposter syndrome is just something, and I think that when we think about it, like, we've done amazing things.
Yes.
I mean, you're African American, you're a guy who became a nurse, got to the C-suite. I mean, like, you can do anything you want to do. Reality.
That's so true. And even now to this day, right? I have to sometimes pinch myself. And because, yes, I have done all of this, but I realize that I'm not doing it. And I tell my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, all the time, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for the people behind me. Because still, when I walk into an organization now and I sit at that table, there's not many people that look like me from a skin perspective, or you add a skin perspective in a male, right, in this area. So when I sit here as a double masters person, I'm trying to inspire the next generation. I was literally just talking to my cousin about that, saying, hey, I did it. You can do it. We can get it out the mud. You don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. You don't have to. Fast money looks fast right now, but it gets slow in the future, baby. I've never seen a retired drug dealer. It just does not happen. So while they are alluring you with this quick money, let me show you how to get this long money. Right. Because quick money dries up.
Right. That's some good stuff. And when you think about it, representation is everything. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so, like, listen, we're going to win or we're going to win. Period. Right. Yes. And so, and I was talking to actually one of my clients today, and I said, you have to have this mentality that you can control but so much of this thing. Right. And so with your control of this thing, you have to control what you have to do, and you have to move forward in that manner. Like, this is what I can control today, and this is where I'm going to go. Because, and it's just like whenever you're in healthcare, whenever the patient comes in, you can't control what that patient does whenever that patient leaves the hospital. The only thing that you can do is control what you do while that patient is in that hospital. And that's it. And so you can control what you do every single solitary day. And the steps that you make today will show up in a few months. But if you don't make it, 90 days is typically the time. But if you don't make those steps, then it won't show up. It's so profound, so profound. So now, tell me, outside of imposter syndrome, what are some of the other challenges that you may face?
So I think just overall developing a structure, for me as an independent healthcare consultant, right? Developing a structure. How do you price? That's a big one. I wrote this article on the top 5 aha moments. How do you price? When I first started off, I was pricing myself at an hourly rate, and it wasn't conducive. I realized very quickly that plumbers don't price for hourly rate for a reason. They price per project, right? They're going to charge you $300 to come put a washer in because you can't do it. And what else you're going to do, right? So I had true story, right? They come to your house 15 minutes later, you pay the fee, right? Because you couldn't do it. So I had to learn that. I had to learn the art of negotiation. And it's not that I wouldn't negotiate, because I love to negotiate. I would negotiate anything. But I had to learn how to position myself in a strategic way that I didn't have to do as much negotiation. The prices became the prices, and this is where it's going to land. And, I had to adapt essentially a supermarket chain mindset, right? When you go to Walmart, you don't get to negotiate on the milk. Either you want the milk or you don't.
One of the two.
You came to the store knowing what you was going to spend. The prices were posted. This is it. We don't get to negotiate with Walmart on that PS5. I don't get to do that. So I had to learn to put myself in that situation. And then one of the bigger struggles that I have is, and I still struggle with this to this day, is employee management, right? When you're a smaller business, you're kind of doing it all. Whereas, as a C-suite, I got an HR director, they doing hiring, they're doing team building. No, I ain't got that no more. So you have to learn how to manage all of that in a way that is conducive and also not eating up on your work-life balance as well, because you still have to have your mental capacity. As a person who is balancing getting my doctoral degree right now, as well as, running the company and everything else. Thank you. It is a challenge, but you know what? I tell people all the time, I'm not complaining, because I'd rather have these challenges with clients than not have clients and no challenges.
Come on now. And and that is one of my friends. She is a successful business owner as well. And one of the things that she said was to hire, and I didn't do this, but she said to hire top up first. And that really, we decided just a few weeks ago to hire a COO, actually to promote a COO, because she was doing so well in the company. And that really has been a game changer as it relates to how we're going to move forward, and just being very strategic, because we're, as it relates to how you structure everything. And one of the things that has really helped us is that standard operating procedures, like we do video SOPs, and then we do the, written SOPs, take the video transcript, drop it in the chat GPT and set it, spit you out an SOP. Listen,
Yes.
Game changing. If you are not using AI in your business, you're going to be behind.
Listen, AI and automation, I'm setting up automation. I was up late last night setting up an automation for a course we just developed. And, when I say automation, I mean, it's from the point when you register the course to you get the certificate to it, sends you out the Google request to give us a Google review, all of that stuff. And you listen, you only going to get that request if you rate it highly on the, at the course at the end, how you rate the instructor, all that. If you gave us a 4 on there, it ain't going to automatically send you a Google review. I can't tarnish that Google rep. But if you rated us all 5s, it's going to send you an automatic Google review.
That's so hilarious.
I'm not playing.
I love it. But yeah, that is so true. And just being very strategic and very, and that has helped us, because everybody has not been a good fit, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've had to lovingly fire a few people. But at the same time, we've been very intentional about moving the needle every single day. Like, we don't, it is not a day. And one of the things that has helped us too, and for a long time, because I have a coach, right? I always have a coach. I believe a coach needs a coach. But one of the things that we did, because I had a coach that told me that I should meet with my staff every morning for like a daily huddle. I was like, I'm not doing that. I mean, for like 6 months, I didn't do it. And then he was like, and I brought up something, and he was like, do y'all have daily huddles? And I said, well, no. He said, well, didn't I tell you to do that 6 months ago? I said, well, yes. And so I started doing it, and it literally catapulted because communication, the breakdown of communication is the thing that really, really holds your company back, right?
Yes.
And so you have to be very strategic when it comes to that. And now we don't have those breakdowns in communication, because number one, we have channels of communication that we communicate with all the time, but also in the morning, they understand what we should do. But I'll also, get a pulse about what they're wanting, right? Because at the end of the day, this business is not just about me. This business is about really where do you see yourself in this business? What do you want to do? Because we want them to be, missionaries as opposed to mercenaries, right? We want them to be about the mission of the company, right? And so it literally has changed how we move. And I mean, when I say it catapulted it
Nice.
catapulted.
You mentioned communication. I think that's very important. Is how do you be, how do you communicate effectively and efficiently? And what I've learned, and I'm sure you've learned over time, everybody receives communication differently. So I love the fact that you said, you record, your videos for the SOPs and all of that good stuff, because people receive the message differently. And it's important that we understand how our team members receive the message and how they communicate if we want to have a successful team.
That's facts. That's facts. And the onboarding process is so much easier whenever you go ahead and do that. It's like we literally onboarded 2 people at the beginning of the week, and like they were onboarded within a few hours, right?
Wow.
So it didn't take long at all, and they had very little questions because we had the process so down pat. And one thing that I want to ask, so as you have, how has, your wife and you, with you doing the business, how has that worked out? And how do you think, like when it comes to being in business, how important do you think the marriage structure is?
So I think this is a very different question, and I don't know what the answer you were looking for, but I can only give you my true answer. My wife is not involved in the business.
Mm-hmm.
My wife does not want to be in anything in regards to it. So my wife's area is education and in the classroom. So she does not want to do anything entrepreneurs. It's not something that she while she helps me with certain aspects of it, it's not her forte. She doesn't want to manage people, although she manages 130 kids during the day, right? 8th graders at that. She does not. So for me, we're constantly learning and growing how she can support, and I'm learning to put her in places where she will thrive in. So she does like a lot of my Canva social media stuff from a proofreading things, but in regards to the day-to-day operations, she's not involved in that aspect. So it leaves me speaking with other executives such as yourself, other coaches, to really kind of strategize and things like that. Now, that doesn't mean at night I don't turn to my wife and say, "Hey, what do you think?" I've started to do a little bit more of that, and we were talking about that last week. I always, and it's just me, I'm sorry, and I'll say it live. I'm sorry, honey. I always say, "Oh, that's not a good idea." I'll go back and think on it, and then I come back the next day and say, "You know what? You're right. I should try this." You know what? That was good. I discount her more than I should because she's generally not in that space, but she has a different viewpoint. And I love the viewpoint, even though it's always challenging my viewpoint. But I love the viewpoint because it gets me to think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she's kind of aligned and kind of set in. But as far as the day-to-day, like I said, she's not involved in that. But, being able to have that thought partner and turn to, even though I may not agree with it right away, I think it's been beneficial for me.
Yeah, it is, definitely. I think it's important. A lot of people, what happens is I think sometimes, and maybe it's women, men, I don't know, but I think in my experience, of course, I talk to more women than I do men in this space. But one of the things that I've heard is that sometimes there is not that support there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when there's not that support there, then there's the struggle to move forward. And that's really not a good thing, obviously, for sure.
I can say that, and it's been times where I've told her like, "Hey, I don't feel supported," and she's never said, "Hey, no, this ain't working. You got to go get a job." She's never said that, right? But I think sometimes you just want somebody to be there and kind of know what you're going through, know the struggles and the grind, right? It may look like I'm up just on social media, but I'm really targeted outreach, right? Targeted messaging. So she may not understand that as much, but it goes back to communication, right? We just talked about that. I need to communicate better so she can receive it better and understand what I'm doing to advance our business, advance the lifestyle that we have. So communication plays internal with your internal employees and your external life as well, right? With your family.
Yeah, and that's so key is you communicating your needs to her, right? And
Yeah.
her communicating her needs to you, and then y'all coming together. I think that whenever you're married and you're in business, that is absolutely key. So I got some rapid fire questions.
Ooh.
Tell me what has been your most rewarding thing about nursing.
You would ask me years ago, I would say not this, but currently it's anytime I can be there for a hospice patient.
Mm,
Anytime I can be there, years ago I was scared of death. I was terrified. But now if I'm there to hold your hand, it is the most rewarding thing, especially when you don't have family there, that I can be there to ease your anxiety for whatever that may be, right? I can be there to hold your hand. That means the world to me as a nurse.
love it. What is you think is the most common misconception about nursing?
That is what you see on TV.
Facts. Because it is not anything like it. Ooh, that was so true. Oh my God. So now what are you reading now?
So my free reading is this DMP project I'm working on. So I'm in my chapter 2, and I read 100 lit. I did 100 articles for my lit review. So that is what's going on right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is that.
I feel you on that. Okay. I was like, we gotta write a book. Like, what's going on here?
So this is my last week of this class, my 4th class. I'm going to my 5th of 11th class starting in 2 weeks. I've officially, my chair's giving me the green light on my chapter 2. So, we moving. I was just doing the math earlier. I said, I got 16 months left. Scratch this class off.
No, that's right. Now, who is a leader, living or dead, that you would like to have a conversation with?
I, I, I would love to have a conversation with Dr. King.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, and anybody in that era, right, who was challenging the status quo, because that's very charismatic to go against the grain, and that's definitely me. So I'd love to see what was their thought process, right? We have technology now, so we can see everything, we can connect with people, but when you was marching, how did you know you was gonna get there? Like all the stuff that was going in with it, like I would love to just pick their brain and their thought process and to have a conversation to understand, because you're talking about major systemic changes that affects us to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And what gave you the courage to really do that? Even when you was getting beat down, they were assassinating your character, you kept going, right? And I think that, can help me to this day as I continue to keep going, even when I'm beat down, that would help.
I love that tenacity. What's your favorite movie?
Set It Off. Queen Latifah. That's the truth. Set It Off. Queen Latifah.
Now, how do you define success?
In this day and age, for me, success is being home to make dinner for my family every day and make sure I see my daughter off to school every day. You would have asked me a couple years ago, it's a C-suite. Nah. For me, it's being there for my family. And if you haven't got anything from me, right? My mom was a single mother growing up. Dad was in and out. So it's molded me to who I am today, but I know the importance of having a father figure there and being there for my daughter. So she will see me there. She will see me at her recitals and things. So success is being able to be there for my family now. That's how I define it at this stage in my life.
I love it. I love it. And that she will not let anybody come into her life who will not treat her equally as good as you are.
Yes.
She won't let it happen.
Yes.
I love that. So now, what is your life motto? Last question.
It's my late mother's last motto, and my mom was a sickle cell warrior. She transitioned back in 2022 at 54 years of life with the chronic disease of sickle cell, made it to 54. And her motto to me, as I have now passed on to my daughter, is to live life with no regrets. Because at the time you've made the decision, you've made it with all the facts you've had at that time. And that was the best decision you thought you could have made. So you can't go later in life and say, I would have, could have, should have. You didn't know that information. You made the decision with the information you had at that moment. You just got to move forward.
I love it. I love it. You know, Tim Grogan says that you will either live a life of discipline or a life of regret. And the regret is generational. So
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So it has been a pleasure for you to be here, Mr. Demetrius. And so can you tell people where to find you?
Hey, I'm all over socials. You just type that name, Demetrius Kirk, right in. It's going to pop up. It's all over. You can follow me on various platforms at Your Healthcare Consultant. That's literally Your Healthcare Consultant, one word. I host a podcast. It's on YouTube. It's on everywhere. It's called Sound Leadership with DJ, where I talk to inspiring leaders from the C-suite down to the janitor. If you're a leader, I love talking to you. You know, you're a mom, you got your kids out that day and they got to school on time. That's leadership, right? So I talk to all different kind of leaders at various stages of their life about leadership.
All right. So I ask that you like and share this podcast, comment, subscribe, so that we can get the word out that nurses are amazing and that we can do something other than be at the bedside, although we have some amazing bedside nurses. So with that being said, you ladies and gentlemen, you have a great rest of your day.